You're listening to a Time Machine podcast. Old Movie Time Machine. An adventure through time and or space.
Dishes are done, man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Old Movie Time Machine. Oops, all 90s. This is the show in which we are journeying back through the window of time and visiting films made in the 1990s to explore the people, places, and cultures that we see within. We're taking a look, we're comparing it to the past, the Cold War, the previous generations, and also the world that we live in today, and seeing what's up, what's changed, what's different. And we're asking ourselves other critical questions, such as these people that we're looking at here in the 90s. Who are these people? Oh, shit. That's Shrishma Naik. She was in the 90s, and she's here today as well. Hey, Shrishy Boo.
Hi.
And of course, we will be joined as ever by my sister and yours across the ocean, making this an official international panel of experts at being human in the early 21st century. My sister and yours, Carolyn Naoroz. Hey, sis.
Hey there.
Just wrap up the window bit. So then we're examining the world beyond the window, checking out what people are wearing, what the fits are like, what their living rooms are like, what the tunes are like, the whole thing. We're going to be vibing in the 90s. And at the end of the show, we're going to ask ourselves, hey, this movie we just watched, do we keep watching this thing? Is there value here? Does this pass on some morsel of what life was like during this time period that we are exploring? And we'll make that decision together on behalf of all of you here living in the 21st century. Today's adventure will be 1996. Is it 1996 is William Shakespeare's, Baz Luhrmann's, Leonardo DiCaprio's Romeo and Juliet. And guiding us through this picture today will be my sister and yours, of course, the good doctor, Carolyn Naoroz. Hey, sis. Take it away, please. I don't want it. You take it.
Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you straight up. We all know the plot of this story. We are not going to talk plot. I'm not going to go through this scene by scene for you. We all know star-crossed lovers, teenage love, lust, whatever. We're going to talk.
How now, brown cow, thine love shall be mine.
Right, exactly. So I'm not going to get into the whole... We're not going scene by scene with
What's
this,
the story?
all right?
I think I'm not familiar.
You're not familiar with Romeo and Juliet?
No.
Okay, can we talk about Shakespeare real quick and how we feel about Shakespeare?
Hold on, pull out the spark notes.
Carolyn, you're in charge. Sorry, patriarchy surrenders.
That's right. No, we're not getting caught up in that. We're going to talk about the fun 1990s things of this movie.
Oh my god!
First and foremost, I do want to acknowledge that we have talked thus far about the dichotomy of early 90s grunge and late 90s sort of like prepackaged Abercrombie and Fitch, right? Yeah. Like it's very clear that something happened in the 90s. I think we're now in 1996 when this comes out. It means it was filmed in 95. We're talking mid 90s. I think that it could be that this movie is our midway point between grunge and sort of like the pop 1990s is what I'm going to say. We see it in the music. We totally see it in the music. We see it in the clothes. We see it in the dress. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio looks like a greasy teenage boy in this.
True. Yeah.
In this film, like he's not, Lord bless him, but I'm like, you probably stink. Like that's like, I raised some teenage boys, and I think he was like 21 when he did this, but he still has that like teenageriness about him, and I'm like,
for sure. So you're proposing this is a tipping point. This movie, this leads from one path to the other,
right? I feel like this might have heralded the end of grunge.
Okay. Wow.
Because grunge was now this was like a mainstream, super popular movie. So like grunge kind of like made it into this movie and was a whole feel and a vibe. But at the same time, you had like the pop song of like, love me, right. Say that you love me. And like Desiree and like, so, and some sort of high gloss 90s things coming in to play.
Yeah, I mean, kind of packaged through the pretty face of Leonardo DiCaprio, who is
And
very
Claire
pretty,
Danes.
by the way.
They're both very pretty. We got two very pretty leads here.
Yes.
But this is certainly pre I'm a man Leo, right? This
my God. Yeah.
I'm very pretty, borderline androgynous Leo.
Mhm.
You know, this is...
He's thin, he's lanky,
I wonder, I will ask you as women who, does that... Okay, if you're a certain age, right? So let's say the target audience is like teenage girls for this movie, maybe, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Not to stereotype or whatever. I'm just saying, like, in general, like, who are we targeting this for?
Are you asking when we were teenage girls, did we think Leo was hot?
Well, I mean, in not so many words, yes, that is the core of the question. But do you feel like there's something about the achievability of having a very boyish lead who is, he's a very handsome man, right? But he has feminine qualities to like his face and everything. It makes it very...
not now. He's full grown.
No, he's an adult man now. But at the time, he was very young and kept his sort of like boyish body, like his build and everything. He has the build of a teenage boy, even though he's in his early 20s. Like, does that make it more achievable to you, the audience member who is there, like lusting after him, where it's like, yeah, you kind of look like a high school boy. Like, this is something more realistic, or is it unachievable? You tell me. I don't know anything about it. Explain me, Leo.
I just know, I remember this movie came out because, I had my older sister, and then there were like girls who were older than me. And everyone was obsessed with this movie because of him. So whatever they wanted to achieve, they achieved it. And mind you, I'm in Malaysia at this point in my life. So that hype has crossed the oceans and continents.
International hype. Okay.
And everyone...
the oceans of time to be part of your psyche.
And everyone was talking about this movie. He was the man every one of these chicks wanted to be with. And I feel... that I went along with that flow. I don't know if like independently if I liked him, but I liked him because everyone else was liking him.
There was a wave. Sense. Leo was a wave at the time. Maybe it's difficult to describe to modern people, in modern generations, but yeah, this was a sensation, right? Now, Carol, I don't know how much information you have on like Leo mania, but do you have anything to share with us? Like,
not on Leo mania, but I want to back up to your question of like, does this work for you? Teenage boy thing. That whole teenage boy thing never worked for me. Not my jam, not my thing. I don't have time for teenage boys. I still don't have time for teenage boys, even when I'm raising them.
Right.
My crushes were like old ass men. Sorry. We should not be surprised.
1990s.
I feel like I'm there with Carolyn as well, but I feel like I was just not like bold enough to admit it. So I kind of went with what was, popular.
Because many people put Leo in a position of we're transitioning from a more traditional leading man archetype of like, starting with your Rock Hudsons or whatever, the sort of like big butch kind of dude, right? To, all the way through, Robert Redford and Paul Newman and these sort of like, kind of like beefy dude, like men, right?
Right. Bigger, taller.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Robert Redford.
He's like a waif. He's like a little street urchin in his early 20s. So I mean, there must be something there. I mean,
another popular actor, though, at the time that I feel has the pretty look, still popular actor now, pretty look, but has a little bit more masculinity would have been Brad Pitt. And I definitely, he seemed more mature.
Yeah.
And I definitely found him attractive, like Legends of the Fall. Like, it was like, okay. Because he was like, even with the long hair and the very pretty features, he was like a dude.
He's a man. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was a man. Where I guess the thing with Leo, to me, it's just more like, in this particular movie, now, like, he's a he's a great actor. I really enjoy his work. He's extremely handsome. He obviously was like, yes, I recognize you're a really attractive human being at this time. But for me, it was more like, you're like a little boy. And I was never, that was not my thing.
Right. Okay. So this is interesting. So build plays into it a lot. Like, what do your shoulders look like? That kind of thing. I'm just trying to think, because you saw these guys, these sort of like, for lack of a better term, pretty guys, right? You've got Leo, you've got Brad, you've got Johnny Depp struggled with this.
Johnny Depp.
Keanu is same thing, where it's like, okay, you are exceptionally aesthetically handsome people, or like, like beautiful people. Like,
they're beautiful.
Like, Leo's not like handsome in a fucking Harrison Ford way. He's got his own thing going on, right? So then they have to like battle against that if they want to have
serious
careers
as actors, like true actors,
right? So like Brad Pitt has this whole period in like the mid 90s where he's just doing like weird movies. So it's like 12 Monkeys and shit, because he's like, stop making me pretty. Like I'll be weird. Same thing with Johnny Depp pre-Pirates.
Right.
I'm going to do all this
weird in
shit.
Pirates.
Right, and then he finally cashes in with Pirates, doing the thing,
the weird thing,
and
right. But like, I mean, I agree with you. I think that there's something about that. I think, interestingly, we see a bit of a change in the 90s when we see the popularity of like Good Will Hunting, where Matt Damon, even though he's young and he's pretty, but Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are like, they're like bros.
Yeah, they're dudes. Right. They're dudes. They're from Boston.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would also say, like, someone who, is probably 10 years older than all these guys would be George Clooney coming into popularity. And he's not rugged and like, you're going to go hike some shit, but he's not pretty. He's like ruggedly handsome.
Right. It's just interesting because this was such a phenomenon, and this had our very sane cousin Kelly, we've talked a lot about already, but
she's
a very sane woman cutting out pictures of Leo from magazines and putting them onto poster board, just to have.
This was the era of Tiger Beat.
Sure, yeah.
All the teen magazines. It was like Devon Sawa and
yes. Right. What was his name? The guy in Boy Meets World, the friend.
Oh, Ryder Strong.
Ryder Strong.
They all share that great 90s hair, like big swoop hair with the side part, but short on the back. I could never get that hair. That's all. It was. It's Jonathan Brandis and Sequest hair.
But I think it was also the time of the boy bands. Like you had these pretty boy bands.
Pretty boy bands, though.
Is it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like 96?
Yeah, you don't see that stuff till 98.
No, not until like 98. Is that that's when you see like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys.
In 99, it takes over. Right.
Okay.
Right.
I feel like, at least for me, mind you, I'm also being wooed by Bollywood men at this time.
Ooh, I love some Bollywood men.
But I think it was because it was 96, so I was 10. So I think I was coming off I was heavily influenced by Bollywood, but like at 10, 12, 13, you start creating your own.
Yeah.
You make your own choices, right? Yep. So I think it was a transition, I would say.
I feel like when I've watched the Bollywood films, like they're real men.
Yeah.
Like and they're grown ass men.
Like, they're grown. And even like, it was the time of DDLJ, which we watched. Yeah. So it was the romance was a big thing. And I think they were also moving from bigger, strong, angry to more romantic, boyish looking men.
I'm in touch with my feelings.
Right.
Which, has its own appeal.
But still very masculine. That's and true. Like, I mean, mature build, I guess, is part of it. Where
it was not this, like, as you would say,
wave flag.
All this being said, though, I got strong Bollywood vibes from this movie.
Oh my God, yes. It was really. Can I just say, I could not finish watching this movie.
I watched the last hour at 1.5 speed this morning
because I was like, I know what's going to happen. I can't watch them destroy.
I also started fast forwarding at the end just to get to the death scene because I'm like, I know what happened. Like, I don't need to watch all this shit. Like, okay, so that should say something right there. We need to stop and kind of unpack that right there. Is that the three of us could not sit through the entire thing. There were a lot of things I enjoyed about it, and I was like taking a walk through my like middle school years. But I also just kind of was like, okay, get to the end. Let's get to the poison and the shooting. And like, okay, and then let's be done.
I didn't realize that they did this whole movie in the Shakespeare script. And I really feel like Shakespeare would be rolling in his grave or rolled in his grave.
Well, can we talk again? I'll ask the question. Can we talk about Shakespeare real quick?
Yeah, hold on. So I just want to make the point here that, and I just kind of want you to co-sign on it or not, is that this might be our like grunge is at its most glamorous, and that's how it falls is through this movie.
We can talk about it. I feel like this is certainly
the death of grunge.
The year that this happens, because we see this we saw it with That Thing You Do and the lack of cigarette smoking, right? Now we see our lead smoking a cigarette. Is this the last time we see a leading character we're supposed to be in love with smoking in an earnest way? Like, is this the end of that? Is what right. Keep in mind as we move forward, because I think this is a part of it, Carol. There's something to your argument about the style and aesthetics meeting
the height of Hollywood glamour, and then like as soon as it's commercialized, like really commercialized,
which this movie is then turned into its own cottage industry of like posters and T-shirts and the symbology of this movie is actually probably more impactful than the actual movie itself. The glimpses that we see of them, like meeting each other through the fish tank, like that's a powerful image. The movie around it, though, maybe not so much. I
understand.
And but again, I just want to put a pin in Shakespeare. I would like to return to that topic, but
no, we can return. We can go to Shakespeare now. I would like to take a moment to make that segue through a very specific part of this film, because I do not want to go scene by scene.
No,
but I think one of the best performances in this film and in the actual Shakespearean language, but performance, actor, etc., would be our Mercutio.
Which one is Mercutio?
He's the one that does. He's the black gentleman in drag.
He gets killed, right?
He gets killed.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But he has the Queen Mab speech, and he like brought it home. That to me is like, you are watching a professional Shakespearean actor like do the things, but also relevant for that particular film. So I will let you run with Shakespeare now, because I just want to say I think that actor, and I'm looking Harold Perrineau.
Okay.
I also have one comment on Mercutio's character, which I'll make after your Shakespeare.
Okay. I just want to say that, like, my big picture thoughts on this particular picture are everybody is doing the work. Like all the performances, like they're all giving 125%. And I give them a lot of credit for that. I think this movie would work better if they just adapted the story into like a modern, like I feel like this would be a cult classic, legit thing if you just took the story and just made it in modern speech. Because here's the thing, you guys, this is my Shakespeare point. And it's a personal flaw. I understand this. This is like when I made people who, talk shit about the Beatles, right? It's like, I don't fucking get it. And I don't care for, like, I understand the turns of phrases and the language, the vocabulary expansion, very important. Like, I'm not taking away from that, but like, I don't like this stuff. I don't like watching it. I don't like reading it. It brings me no pleasure. What's that?
I love Shakespeare.
Okay, great. I mean, maybe you could explain it to me, but probably.
I mean, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Like, this is all a matter of taste.
I just don't get. Yeah, I don't.
So you don't like?
I can appreciate it, but I'm not into it. And so when
in the context of this movie or in general?
In general, big picture. Okay. And I've seen plenty of productions, and I've had to read them for school and everything. It just feels like fucking school to me. It feels like homework. So anytime these beautiful people wearing immaculate outfits, framed in incredible tableaus of imagery and everything. Anytime they open their mouth and start talking to each other in this really earnest Shakespeare way, like I just check the fuck out. It's just school to me.
Right.
So,
and I mean, I think that's an important point. Absolutely. I think a lot of people feel that way about it, and you're absolutely entitled to feel and think about it in that way, because I also think it's become very scholarly.
But I do want to point out, like, everybody in the cast is doing the best they can do with this. Like, they're doing great. I mean, especially towards the end when it just becomes like Paul Sorvino yelling at people hour in Shakespearean speech. Like, that is wildly entertaining and so over the top. And it's like, yeah, you're fucking bringing it, dude. Like, because you're dealing with this material that is
right. I guess, like, and I love Paul Sorvino. That's another person I would just like to say I think he had a fantastic performance, and I love John Leguizamo in this.
Yeah.
He was everybody. Great. I like them all. I thought they were all great at the roles that they were given, and that's all I need to say about it. It's just that, like, this fundamentally will not work for me because I don't
like Shakespeare. Say it.
It's okay. You don't have to like it.
It doesn't move me. It's yet to move me. We'll say that, but I respect the history and the importance of it.
It's like there's plenty of people who don't like the Beatles, so you can wax poetic on the Beatles, and there are plenty of people who don't. And I mean, I will offer the opposite of, like, I enjoy Shakespeare. I've enjoyed the productions that I have seen. I've enjoyed reading it. I've enjoyed studying it. But I can also see that it's like, a little highbrow and culty these days. And doesn't, like, I certainly have my favorites. I love Macbeth. Right. I don't really give a shit about Romeo and Juliet. It's not my fave. I'm a Macbeth person. I like Hamlet,
Midsummer Night's Dream is my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, I love and again, these
favorite.
I went to a British international school.
Yeah, you did.
We studied Shakespeare.
Okay. So what do you think about it then?
Maybe because Shrishma and I both went to private school. Studied Shakespeare.
I mean, I had to look. I was Hamlet in high school. I read the Hamlet role part.
Right. I mean, I think we read Hamlet. I know we read Romeo and Juliet. Midsummer Night's Dream was a production one year for our annual school production.
Okay.
So I've been exposed to a lot of Shakespeare. Do I believe he was the greatest playwright ever? No.
Yes. Oh.
I mean, come on. Like, it was not to go on my colonialism soapbox, but the British
drag it out. Wait, British, did you guys hear that? Shrishma's dragging out the big soapbox. Hold on. The British Empire ruled the world for a long time, and it would make sense that a product of their society would be deemed the most famous playwright of the time. Tracks very well. Right.
Do I believe there are of other places, India, Africa, like at least India I can speak for, there are great playwrights and authors coming out of India,
sorry.
But
billions of people. Nope, sorry. Shakespeare.
So Shakespeare,
500-year-old white dude. Enjoy.
I mean, I would be the first person to say, like, I enjoy it. Do I think he's absolutely the best and it's hands down? I'm like, no, but I mean,
good. I think, he wrote
I enjoy
some great stories.
Sure.
And I think for the time that they came out in, they, really made an impression on people. Bollywood's remade half of those stories like 100 times. So clearly, we're using the material,
right.
This particular movie threw me off that they were using the original Shakespeare.
At what point did it occur to you?
I was like, the moment the movie started. And the funniest scene was them, the initial fight scene at the gas station, all in the prose of,
Yeah.
The whole thing. I think that's from the beginning. As soon as they started with that, it threw me off the whole movie. I don't know why. It just maybe like what I was seeing wasn't connecting with what I was hearing.
Can we consider something that takes these story elements, but like makes it contextually modern? West Side Story? Like the original West Side Story? I mean, is that not the same thing?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Okay. I mean, but I feel like that works, and I'm not crazy for West Side Story, but like I'd rather watch West Side Story, the original one, than this, I think, or like anything doing the Shakespeare, just because it's just
I mean, they could have done the whole movie and then just normal dialogue. I guess that takes away from what they were trying to, brand the movie as.
Are you all aware of the trilogy that Baz Luhrmann was trying to create?
Oh
no! Tell us about Baz. I know very little about Baz.
I love Baz. He's great. He's a big showman.
Yeah,
I'm there for it.
And my roommate Mark was a big Baz guy back in film school days. So I mean, I got some of this, but yeah.
So he wanted to tell 3 different stories: one through dance, one through words, one through music. So Strictly Ballroom was the one that first came out. That's the story told through dance. Romeo and Juliet is very specific because it is about the language. Mm-hmm. That is why he did it.
Okay.
And then Moulin Rouge was through the music.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's if you put the 3 of them together, and obviously his budgets went up throughout all 3 of these.
I mean, Moulin Rouge was great. Like, I would still watch Moulin Rouge.
Interesting.
Today.
I think I've seen it.
I think
I've seen it.
Moulin Rouge too. I think that's in the. No, not in the.
I give him credit. For me, like the Baz for me is the Elvis movie. I thought was fantastic. I thought he did a great job. I've talked about this before, but
yes, I even liked Australia. Anyways, but one of the other things I liked so that's like the little bit of Baz is that if you put it in the context of the trilogies, that's why it was so important for him to use the dialogue.
Okay.
Well, I give this man credit. Like, I enjoyed his direction the most out of all aspects of this movie. Now, it seems a little dated nowadays, but like for the time, especially, it's pretty outrageous. The editing, the sort of borderline cartooniness of it. It's got like Looney Tunes style editing sometimes. Yeah. The framing of the shots, the production design, I think is like immaculate. We also need to note
the, yes, I mean, like the colors, the everything flowing through.
Costumes.
Multiracial cast.
Yeah, for sure.
No, which was not a given at this point in time.
Not at this time. And he has like these 2 fantastic roles, Tybalt and Mercutio, being played by, John Leguizamo and Harold Perrineau, which is like, I mean, that was a big deal.
Right. And let's not forget the brother from Bring It On, who he's such a baby in this movie. Remember there's that cool brother who Kirsten Dunst falls in love with in Bring It On.
Interesting.
The cheerleading movie?
Oh yeah. He's so young. He's like the choir boy or the altar boy or something.
In this movie? Yeah. But he's
also a very young Paul Rudd. It's so 90s that Paul Rudd is in this.
Totally forgot Rudd's in this movie.
I remember, yes. He also looked very handsome at his young age. Not that he's not handsome, but he had this as you guys were talking about that boyish prettiness that I didn't realize.
Okay, I could see. I mean, he seems pretty consistently man pretty to me.
Yeah, he's
always like 30.
He carries a little bit more maturity. I mean, in Clueless as well, he just appears, and I think it's because he does not have a classically pretty face. It's actually a very handsome face.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
But yeah, I loved in this movie, like visually, and this is why I think it could be more of a touchstone than it is, because here's my impression, and you guys tell me where I'm wrong here, or if I'm wrong, is that this was a cult picture for people around our age group, right? Because obviously Leo, and let's not forget Claire Danes either. Angela Chase from My So-Called Life, also a very important 90s figure. You have these beautiful people in the lead roles in the greatest romance of all time, the greatest youth romance of all time or whatever. And you've got all this style from this director who's nothing but style. Well, he's not nothing but style, but like is known for having a very distinct look and style. Like you only getting this from this guy. And then those people carry this on and buy the posters and the t-shirts and the imagery and everything. But I don't know, has this transferred to the next generation? Like, do millennials, like later millennials, like this, or
I don't think so.
Is it the same romance?
I don't think so.
Right. And I think if you had made this more distinctly 90s in language,
right?
Like if you had made that choice to like modernize.
Yeah, but like everyone's had to watch it in school.
Yeah, well, right, but I think you would want to watch it more if in a more proactive, like, oh, I want this 95, 96 vibe.
Right.
And then this is a great example of it. And just be like one other aspect to bring you in, because it is such a 90s looking picture, that it should be more of a cult classic, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the language holds it. I think Shakespeare needs a rewrite. So I'm going to say it.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like, for a romance, for the category that it's in, there's so many other options. Like, I don't think people relate to Romeo and Juliet the way people did in the 90s.
And even in the 90s, I think it's a push in the 90s that it would be so. I think it's the beauty of these people and not the language that like moved, got asses in seats. I don't think there was a huge explosion of like Shakespeare mania. I could be wrong. I just like, my memory of that time is basically we like looking at these people.
Right.
Like that's the biggest takeaway, is that these people are pretty and
the film itself was a whole lot to look at. I mean, it is a feast for the eyes.
Oh, it's visual delights galore.
Right. I mean, it's like, it is out there and there's so much to take in. You can see why people would go see it multiple times, just because the people are pretty and the, production value is great.
Yeah.
I also think it'd be important to put into context just culturally. Okay, we're talking 95, 96. This would be a time period where we're also seeing, some gang wars in the United States.
True.
So this whole like Montague Capulet thing would, for some urban areas, probably, play as believable.
Mm-hmm. The setting is outstanding. I don't know enough about it, I guess, but like the sort of California beach town vibe. Is that what it is? I mean, it seems like kind of by the border too, though. I mean, I don't know, but
I actually think they filmed, if I'm not mistaken, they filmed someplace in Mexico.
Okay. I felt Mexican vibes. I was loving the Mexican vibes. I mean, I think that adds a lot of color. I mean, I think the choice of Hawaiian shirts, I think is a smart choice. I think it's something that I want to look at personally. Again, this has been a line of thinking I've had for a little while, since Brad Pitt was wearing the yellow Hawaiian shirt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Great look. But Hawaiian shirts, it's such a fine line between like, this is cool and this is nerdy.
Well, I mean, the way they were wearing it in this movie, I felt like it was pretty.
Oh man, the flowy shirt, like tank top,
it was. That's what I'm saying. It was a very 90s like.
He is Leo's cuffing his pants, right? He's wearing tight pants. I know those aren't cool anymore for now, but they'll be cool again. Tight pants are always kind of cool, but he's cuffing and he's wearing like low top Dickies boot. Like fucking I rock that look for like 5 years. This is great. So that stuff holds up.
So I'm going to make a little bit of a segue here away from Shakespeare, because I have a fun fact for you, Justin.
I love a fun fact.
Okay. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
This is a casting fun fact. I don't know if you know it.
Okay.
But originally, Natalie Portman was cast as Juliet.
Wow.
But she was 14 at the time, and it was thought that once they started doing some like footage, that she looked too young, and that it looked like Leonardo DiCaprio was molesting her.
Wow.
And it made Leo look older than intended, because he was 21 at the time and she was 14.
Right.
Claire Danes was 17
from the start.
Seriously, right?
I mean, isn't he the one who can't date anyone who's older than?
So they say. That's really interesting. Wow, how would this have changed Natalie's career? Because all of this, I mean, historically, if we look at this, this is the launching pad pre-Titanic, because the next year is Titanic, and that's when Leo mania really explodes.
Oh my god!
Because I remember having, hearing about this in school from girls, how much they love fucking Leo, like 97, 98, like this went on for a while. It was.
I don't think it stopped.
Yeah, I think
when we talk about Titanic, I'm going to return to this, but this is my classic example: is that I still would have married Cal like our Billy Zane over Leonardo in that movie any day, and I still feel the same way about it.
Bro.
Just like I would have picked Paris over Romeo in this film.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, but
Blonde and pretty is not my type.
Well, so consider if this being a launching pad for a young Natalie Portman who's about to go out to the desert with George Lucas and make Phantom Menace. Like, how would that have changed? Like, does she become more of like a pop figure? Because this didn't really do much for Claire Danes. If anything, it kind of buries Claire Danes a little bit.
I think Leo was too big.
I think you're right. I mean,
he was.
I feel a special kinship to Claire Danes for a very stupid reason. Can I share it with you?
We'd love to hear.
Back in the day, like on the internet, you could upload a picture of yourself and it will tell you which celebrity you look the most like. And my match was Claire Danes.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I feel kinship with her, or it's like, Claire, I'm rooting for you. And
yeah, I mean,
hilarious.
The whole time I was watching Claire Danes, all I could see was Homeland. Carrie Mathison.
Yeah, right.
Because like I can just like I couldn't even see her as Juliet. I was like, hey Carrie, like look at you doing a little romance movie.
Interesting. Okay. So she has done.
I thought she did a really great job in this, and she was very believable as Juliet, and it was very earnest.
Yeah, she's super cute
and sweet, and I feel like she really gave an innocence.
Yeah.
Without being more of a baby like Nat would be at that point. I mean, because they have teeny moments where it's like, all right, this is happening.
Right.
Yeah, like it's no, it was a good casting choice. I mean, Yeah. So anyway, that was my fun fact for you. Let's turn to, since we're not talking about plot, I would like to now talk about, because we're talking about visuals. So filming, yes, very cool editing, filming, camera movement, you name it. Some of those scenes like meeting through the fish tank, iconic. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about like these costumes.
Yeah, the looks. Well, I mean, I've already
along with the Hawaiian shirt, you brought up,
Yeah. I mean, like that's just a great. Like, I think that should be my summer look. Maybe I'll do
so.
Romeo 24 summer kind of thing.
Can I get you a big like crucifix to wear?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is that like when you dress kind of like that, you can get away with jewelry, like man jewelry, a little bit more. Which like I've never really been comfortable with, but like you could wear that, the tank top, open shirt look and rock some rings,
right.
Or chains, and get away with it, I think. So
I think it could be your rock and roll summer vibe.
Okay. But I don't want to be a rock and roll cliche either. I don't want to be Kenny from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Oh my God.
I want to be cool. I want to be hip.
You want to be Leo?
Yeah. At age 42, I would like to be a 21-year-old Leonardo. Never had the hair. It could never do it. Like you had to have big, beautiful swept back hair. It could never.
That hair was flopping around.
I would say that was
envy. I mean,
very cute.
Yeah.
It was greasified.
Oh, he's greasy as shit. Yeah. I mean, that's,
I mean, so obviously there's some fabulous fashion choices, not just in Hawaiian shirts, but in like, John Leguizamo's outfit and the, like his whole look, his whole vibe, those boots that he's wearing.
Even the holster, the gun holsters, just the way they're positioned and everything, where he has access, but the butt, is pointing out, and it's just it's cool looking. It's everybody looks cool.
Right. And it's like the sort of like very Miami Beach vintage car vibe.
Yeah.
that the guys are rolling around in.
There's one guy who does not look cool. And I think his hair was pink, if I'm not mistaken. What's the character's name of this guy? Let's talk about.
Let me look.
He's just so vintage 90s white guy. That like I have to look away almost. It's like staring into the sun. His friend, Romeo's friend.
Yeah.
It's either Benvolio or Balthazar.
Okay, so
it's either Jesse Bradford or Dash Mihawk.
So the guy I'm talking about, he he's like skinny, but manages to still have like a puffy face, like a 90s face of like all the 90s Captain Crunch, you know? And then he has like the classic 90s, like straight blonde hair, but like buzzed on the side. And the top is like a box, basically. It's like, it's not, we've gone beyond like bedhead early seasons of Friends look, but we've gone into this sort of like shaved. Everybody's looking for this guy now. I'm so sorry. And I think his hair was dyed pink, if I'm not mistaken.
Jamie Kennedy.
No, Jamie Kennedy's hair was dyed pink. He is in this movie as well. I'm talking about the other guy who looks kind of like Jamie Kennedy and gets a lot of early screen time.
You are thinking of, I believe, Benvolio Montague, which is Dash Mihawk.
That I think that's the guy. Yes.
Yeah. Not pink hair.
Yes, Benvolio. This is him. Not pink hair, but I mean, kind of looks close to. He's like a shitty Jamie Kennedy, sort of. Jamie Kennedy's already kind of like a shitty somebody else. Anyway, this guy, he is not
Jamie Kennedy. If you'd like to come on our show, let us know.
Oh yeah, I mean, we'll offer you a Wincott. Come on, whenever you like. It's a Winona Wincott these days. Either Michael Wincott or Winona Ryder can call in, and we will accept that call anytime we're doing the show.
And Tom Hanks.
So this guy that I'm talking about here,
yes,
this guy represents the worst of 90s white man to me, as far as like look go. It's just a bad look. He's doing all the same things that Leo is doing, but he's not accomplishing them.
No, he's not as cool as Leo.
He doesn't have the swagger, and he's got that he looks like a kid who was in a lot of Corn Pops commercials. Right. Or, Mickey D's.
He looks like very Midwestern.
Yeah. He does. He looks healthily unhealthy. Anyway, just that's a 0 for me. He fails.
All right. So we, our gentleman, it's a very boy heavy film. It don't have a lot of ladies except for Juliet, which, gotta love her whole angel costume. It's lovely. Another look that she's got costume wise is when she goes to church and she's in her little like French schoolgirl outfit with a beret and a black dress and a white collar. And
yes.
She's got some good looks.
Leo's rocking the suit of armor too. He makes chainmail look like a vibe you want to be a part of, I think.
Right. I mean,
redefined chainmail for the 90s.
Yeah, the whole costume party was pretty awesome. I mean, Juliet's father is like, the god Bacchus, and he's having a grand old time. And her mom's Cleopatra. I mean, Juliet's mom is quite the role. Yeah.
Yes.
Now the mom is not. The mom is a different character from the maid, like the helper, handmaid.
Yeah. The nurse,
the older woman,
nurse.
Right? The nurse.
There's a different lady who's the mom.
Gotcha. Right. And she's blonde, right?
Yeah.
Blonde and pointy, kind of sharp and white woman. Yeah. Okay.
But she's more excited to get her daughter married off to
Paris,
the richest suitor, which happens to be Paris.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds of the story because God knows this thing is not the timeless dreamboat that we all think it is. But everybody's very Rudd positive in that household, especially when Sorvino gets his hooks in as well. Like, you shall come over to my house and you shall do this. Celebrate.
I mean, and I feel like the first half of this movie does kind of go pretty fast with like the whole party scene where it's like, hey, we're meeting the characters. There's going to be a party. We go to the party. Romeo and Juliet meet. They're running around the house. There's the whole like pool scene, so like all that, it goes at a really good pace.
Yeah.
To me, things start to slow down when Pete Postlethwaite comes in.
Pete Postlethwaite. Now...
He's like, and does a great job in this role.
Fantastic.
But as soon as we get to dealing with like the church and this, it's like, let's slow this shit down.
Oh no, brown cow, you shall come and be wed in the middle of the night, and I shall give you the poison of thine own lips shall taste. Did you know Postlethwaite, the priest?
The priest. Yeah, I figured that's who you guys are.
That I just like him in any movie. When he shows up in Jurassic Park 2, it's like the big game hunters. I'm like, kick fucking ass.
But also there were 1 or 2 times where in the dialogue they threw in the word "cuz."
Did they?
Was this no, but now what I kind of remember was that part of the original script?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Cuz.
referring to the
Like
cousins,
cousin, like, hey, cuz.
Yes,
like,
hey, cuz.
but then I
Yeah.
was like, but it felt to me that, that would be a phrase that, Shakespeare probably put in his,
He did. That's
in his-
original dialogue.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Because that threw me off. Because it'd be like something, cuz.
Right,
And I was
right.
like, wait, what?
You're just a half a step away from
Yeah,
nephew.
yeah.
And then right.
But yeah, I mean, so that was original language, but also that's just like truly for this particular play, it was to solidify, like, yes, these are two warring families.
Right.
And if you're on one side, the only person who's really not related to one family or the other is Mercutio. The rest of them are nephews, cousins, whatever.
I feel like, and
That's why Mercutio is able to get like an invitation to
the party.
to the party.
I got you.
But he's also Romeo's best friend.
Well, I think lining it up the way that they do, like, this is where if we're going to adapt a thing to more modern times, maybe that would help in the getting the nuances across, because they really set it up to like, these two families are at war. Like there's news footage of these two companies. It's a whole it's a big face off,
Right.
that everybody's really concerned with. What if it was a little bit more subtle? Stoic dad reserving their silent judgments, that kind of thing. And the kids have to figure out like how they feel. That seems a bit more realistic than my industry is at war with your industry and we hate each other and neither the twain shall meet. Fake Shakespeare,
right. But
thine lips shall taste the poison and thine lover's kiss.
But I think it's fairly modern to have. Well,
yeah, it's a take. It's a take.
Right.
I just don't think, like, if people want to fuck, they're gonna fuck, right?
That's
like,
true.
who cares about the business around it?
Agreed.
So I don't
Agreed.
know.
Speaking of Mercutio,
Yes, as we always are.
Yes.
Tell me about her.
so right. So it's really funny. So I told Justin this the other day. But so there's a school of thought where there's a tendency in Hollywood to constantly like portray black male characters in like dresses or as gay, and then that's been kind of one of the, like, if you hear Dave Chappelle talk and some of the actors, I think they have like why do you always have to put a black man in a dress
right.
for him to be a part in a dominant role in a movie or whatever?
Right.
In this particular movie, I don't believe that Mercutio had to be played as a cross-dresser.
No.
Right.
There was no reason, nothing in the original script of this book required him to be portrayed. I think he did a really good job with the character, the way he played it.
Right.
But so that when I watched the movie, that was the first point that popped into my head. Like, this is one of the examples of, was it necessary? No.
Right.
And I just wanted to share.
What service to the story is there by doing this, other than just make a character stand out more, or
he could have done, like, I think it was where he died. Did he die? Where he was with yeah, that was a really strong role. And look, I think he was, in just clothes, like not dressing as a woman, right? That was a really strong scene to me. But it just, I don't know. In the way that he had, like, they portrayed his character, or he was directed, I don't know where the kind of the initiation of that idea came.
Right. It would come down, like, is that the performer's choice to play it like that? And Baz being like, bring out the glitter.
Go for it,
right. Or was that direction that was then taken? So
just wanted to call that out, because I think,
well, it's a fair point.
It jarred me to, like, because my mind directly went to that thought, like, oh, so this is what everyone keeps talking, like, this is what they keep talking about. Right? They have to see men, black men in these roles for them to.
You can have representation, but with these strings attached, where, like, we have to, and even though this isn't reality, like, we are seemingly taking your power away by like
putting you in a
emasculating
dress
you
or you know,
right,
whatever
even
it is.
we all know
Exactly.
with our modern eyes that doesn't take away
Right.
or give to anybody's you know sexuality or
But
Yeah.
generally well played. I think his as you said, Carolyn, his character and Tybalt, right? Macruth.
Yep.
Yeah, they were played really well.
but like you say though, we don't see Corn Pops guy or Jamie Kennedy wearing dresses being fabulous, you know,
so and if they wanted to be, you know, if they wanted to be a gender fluid character, they could have, why did it have to be the black character?
right.
Yeah, I mean, I also would think that if this were done today, I mean, like you probably could do a Romeo and Juliet set at this point, and maybe it's already been done and I have no idea, but you know, just like with West Side Story where it's rival gangs, I mean, couldn't you do it with like the Bloods and the Crips? I mean,
Or even just the current gangs as they're set up. Like I thought
iPhone versus Android.
yes.
what?
Because, you know.
How now, brown cow? What is thine operating system? Have you updated to 16.5 yet? Nay,
Exactly.
prithee, I need 12 hours of sleep time, and I'll leave it plugged in before my iOS shall update. Good sir. All right.
Oh my God.
I have so many friends who are theater majors, and they're rolling in their living graves right now.
Yes.
Listen.
So before we move on and before I kind of like push us towards the end here, I'm going to drive the ship a little bit. So we all fast forwarded through the last half of this film.
Did they die in the end? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Oh,
they definitely did. Okay, but going back to our good friend Pete. Okay, so the like it's slow. I think just the way the play is, like it slows down considerably when we start talking about poison and like faking a death, and it's also convoluted at the end. And this is a Shakespeare thing. This is nothing to do with Baz or the performances. They're doing the best they can. It just like, this is where he was like, okay, wait. In Act 3, the tension's supposed to ratchet up even more. And I'm not quite sure how to do that. So I think we'll just kill him.
Well, and this is where I think they're sort of handcuffed by being so adhering to the text, because let's be real. I mean, it's not okay. So he's a brilliant writer, right? Okay. All the stories and turns of phrase and everything, and the core essence of different archetypes. Like, I totally get it. Those are plays, staged plays that are 3-4 hours long or whatever. Right. We're making a fucking movie here. In the 1990s, we figured out how a fucking movie works at this point. Just trial and error, 70 years of trial and error. And here it boils down to about 100 minutes in length. And by this point in the story, we need to be here with these characters. And then we feel the actual sense of resolution at this point, like just so when you're locked into the text of like, we're taking this, and I'm sure they edited the text as well. Like, this can't be a one-to-one reading.
No,
I
don't think it is, but it's like they have to send, so they get married. They have their night together. Right. Romeo gets sent away. And Juliet's still supposed to marry Paris. So how do I get out of marrying Paris? Well, I have to fake my own death to get out of marrying Paris. This is like such an extreme move.
Yeah. Agreed.
Oh, the whole thing. I mean, down to fucking Pete mailing his letter out to the trailer park. And then we started getting into like FedEx rules and regulations of like, well, I left a note. Well, where did you leave the note? Could it, did it blow away? I mean, we're all dealing
at a tiny trailer at the trailer park where, Romeo is out back, just around the corner, just out back, like
which is
10 feet away, 10 feet away.
Yeah. Anybody, you guys know Romeo who lives here? No, I mean, all he would have had to say, because he was right there. Just wildly inefficient. Now we would just put tracking on that. He could log in through his email and see where that letter has gone, has been signed for.
So we get the funeral. She's in the crypt. She's laying there. I mean, the other thing
Looks
is like,
great as
did they not
body.
like embalm bodies then? No, cool. You just put them in the crypt.
Just stay here for a while. Yeah.
And I mean, everyone should have a crypt that has neon crosses in it.
It's again, the production design is
It's fantastic.
Like even with all
Over
the
the
things
top.
we've seen in the 30 years since this movie came out, this is still a strikingly beautiful, extraordinary feast for the eyes.
Right.
This movie, I mean, it like those neon crosses kick ass.
Yes.
They look great. And all of the the flowers that go along with it. I mean, I think if this had been made in modern times, they would have leaned more into the Mexican aspects, the sort of Day of the Dead and all of that. Like,
Mhm.
we probably would see even more of that than we get here. But what we're getting is it's great. It's powerful visuals, and it's unique to
Mhm.
this movie. Never seen anything like this movie,
Right.
which I
Mhm.
think makes it exceptional for that alone.
Yeah.
Much as I dislike the prithee, drink from thine lips so sweetly.
Yeah. So I mean, to move us towards the end here, we of course they die.
They die. They do
They
die
die.
for sure.
You know, Leo thinks she's really dead, or Romeo thinks that Juliet's really dead because he didn't get the letter from Pete, and so he poisons himself.
Yeah.
And then Juliet wakes up, and then she shoots herself because she's like, "Oh my god!" I mean, this is again not a Baz Luhrmann thing. This is just a Shakespeare thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's just how the story is.
Yeah.
Like
That's how the story is. It's like,
Yeah.
and they're dead,
Right.
and they're dead.
debate the merits of the story itself, like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's a bit broad. I mean,
You know, it's all the things that we tell teenagers, like, okay, it might feel like your heart is breaking right now, but
Right,
you will survive and you will get through it and you'll be better for it. And, you know, hey,
that's
people,
what the
word
text
to the
is
wise.
captured so accurately and why it lives on today, hundreds of years later, even though nobody wants to read it. I don't want to read it, is what I'm saying.
But that's the thing. I don't know. Are people still reading it? Is this still being
I don't
read
know.
in school?
We should ask our
Some younger
listener,
people.
anybody reading Shakespeare and getting into it, write to us, partyline at oldmovietimemachine.com. Let us know. Shakespeare, yes. Shakespeare, no. If this was a social media post, thumbs up, thumbs down,
Right.
comment below.
Maybe that's content.
Maybe.
What do you call it? Suggestions.
Are you for Shakespeare or no?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We could
movie
go out
is
on the
over.
streets and ask people.
What was the last Shakespeare you read? And did you like it? Did you finish it? Did you like it?
How long ago was this?
Right.
When you read
when was
it?
this? All right. Sorry, Carolyn.
No. I'm keeping us on track today.
You're doing great, by the way. Need approval from
Okay.
the patriarchy, but
So we now need to go into, are we tossing it or keeping it?
oh, we're already there. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, unless there's another point you guys want to talk about,
I
but
don't
like
have anything else.
I think we talked about the outfits and the sets. I mean, that's about all I've got. I like the beach scene.
this soundtrack
Very-
was good.
I mean, the
The
soundtrack.
soundtrack was okay.
It's all right. It's all right. It was very of its time.
Yes.
Like a lot of piano R&B ballads creeping in here and there that seem very. It's Desiree. I mean, it's very
Right.
Desiree time, very Sade time. Yeah, it's all right. It's a good mix, I guess. I don't know. I'd have to look at it to see what's going on
It
there.
was
But
like one of the first soundtracks that I like bought and I loved, but it also was just like a good mix of music.
Yeah.
and I think
back in
maybe
the
that
day.
goes into the iconography of the picture itself,
Mhm.
you know, along with the posters and the t-shirts is the soundtrack. This was definitely the 90s. We've talked about it. It's
Mhm.
time for soundtrack movies. The soundtrack is almost as important as the movie itself
Mhm. Absolutely.
at this point. So that lives on. I like the beach stuff. I think it looks cool with the theater, with the back blown out and you could see
Oh, yeah.
the ocean through it and the, you know, all of the Catholic iconography and all that stuff being worked in. It's very nice. Great look
Yeah. Good. Okay. So
for me.
are you gonna keep it though?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to keep it, even though I don't like it, because it's the right thing to do, because this is a very 90s project. I would lump this into the same category as Gus Van Sant's Psycho remake, where it's like, this is an interesting concept, a little high concept. We're going to run with it. And it's the 90s and somebody gave us money to do it. So let's make this thing and see what happens. Okay. I think it's a noble experiment. I think ultimately it is let down by Shakespeare herself. Because who knows, right?
Right.
I mean,
sure.
Please. So I think, if you unlocked yourself from the text a little bit and just talk like normal fucking human beings in the 1990s, maybe this would be something more worth watching. But that being said, the people involved and the look and the execution, it's all done really well. And so I'm going to keep it and enjoy your 90s fresh looks, good looks. Get yourself a Hawaiian shirt, cuff your black pants, your tight black pants. So it's a yes for me. Sorry.
Okay. Shrishma.
It's going to have to be a no for me.
Okay.
I'm cool with that too.
Only because, if you want to watch the movie on mute, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And look at some early days Leo prettiness. Sure.
All right.
But it's a no.
It's a no.
Yeah.
It's a no. Well, I'm going to keep it. So we're going to keep this one because it is so 90s. And I'm going to stick by my thesis that this is like the death knell of grunge, right? Because it made it into a Hollywood film.
Did it? I mean, this seems post-grunge to me. If anything, this seems...
they're greasy.
They are greasy, but it is not flannel heroin grease.
No, it's Hawaiian shirt grease.
It's Hawaiian shit. It's just a different type of grease. And this is more... I don't know. Never mind. I haven't thought this out all the way.
We're going to come back to this.
Just not
I'm just thinking that this might be marking like this delineation we have between early 90s
and late
90s.
Yeah. Oh, also, can we just real quick touch on the technology creep? Because we're not seeing any cell phones or anything like that. I mean, so much of this would just text me, bro, if you're gonna fake poison yourself,
just
shoot me a text.
Heads up.
Yeah, right.
DM me.
Hit me on WhatsApp.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
But for the Boom Room, our 90s wing, Justin, what are you going to bring?
I'm going to do Leo's blue Hawaiian shirt that he's
been
talking about it for an hour now. So why not just take that? Yeah.
Awesome.
Shrishma? Find it.
Did he have a bejeweled diamond cross on his neck?
He was wearing he was blinging something.
So his bling.
Yeah.
Leo's bling.
Okay.
You're going to bring, okay. All right. I am going to bring the angel wings.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. Oh man, you guys. I'm having second thoughts.
Do you want Paris's astronaut costume?
No, very cool. It is very cool, and I do want an astronaut costume in general. I'm thinking though, like we're not giving enough love to the guns. Like the guns are very bespoke, specific guns. I mean, you could say the same thing with the cars, but like the religious iconography on the handle of the gun, like that's kind of cool. The guns are cool, dangerously so.
You can have a second pick because this film does have a lot of really cool stuff.
A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I'd like then is a holster with one of the fancy guns, and then the blue Hawaiian shirt to go over it.
All right. That's going to be your look.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Halloween.
That's summer 24. Yeah.
Shrishma, do you want to add anything?
No, I'm good. I can, take his bling, all his bling that he wears in this movie.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, everyone, that was 1996's Romeo and Juliet, which you may or may not have to fast forward through the last half of it, but it is officially kept because it is a vibe.
Yeah, it is.
It is a vibe. It's a vibe. For sure a vibe.
Kept solely based on vibe.
It's it's a solid 90s vibe.
Yeah.
So, what are we doing next week?
So, I think it's my turn, Justin.
It's your turn,
Is it right? Okay. So Justin likes to give us some guidelines by which we should, pick our movies. And usually we ignore them, which is what I've done here as well. So this time
are we going to the 80s? Is that what you're telling me?
We're not going to the 80s. We're just going to do a quick blip into 1989 and come back.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're doing 1989's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, all right. I am on board.
Amazing. Justin, we have some
Because
good stories to tell about this.
I watched this movie in the 90s. So, and for me, this is one that really just represented American life.
Yes.
And because I watched it in the 90s, it represented the 90s to me.
Yeah.
And I just love this movie.
It's a great movie. I'm psyched.
Okay. And also because I was all about, messages coming to me this week through the universe.
Yes.
And this one came to me as a message from the universe.
How can we ask how?
Because I was watching This Is Us and they were talking about there was something about the 90s. And you remember when we watched this movie and this movie?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the one.
I'm so pleased. Because I was very concerned because we did have this texting conversation earlier about can we do a 1989? It's like, what are you talking about? Because of all the things, I want to be clear. We've taken most of the rules and regulations off, other than this needs to be a movie for the 1990s.
True. I could sense Justin's slight frustration in the text messages, but I really just wanted to stick with my guns here.
And now I'm glad you did because I am fully on board, and I can guarantee you that this does represent early 90s life as well.
Very early 90s,
late 80s.
And my justification was I saw it in the 90s.
Yep.
And it really, really was one that really stuck with me in terms of, this is what American life is like.
Okay. I'm so pumped to talk about this. And Carolyn and I do have some deeper stories, next level stories.
I look forward to it.
So great stuff. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Why not? It's our show. We're doing what we want to do.
It is our show.
This is the whole point.
Sorry to keep breaking your rules. But
don't apologize, you rule breaker.
That's what gets you to show up. It's like, I'm going to take this rule and break it, then so be it. That's fine. So, okay, I guess, am I back in charge, Carolyn?
You are back in charge. I'm
okay, well, then next week, you guys, or next time, whenever, we've taken that rule off too.
Right.
The show's up whenever we want it to show up. So the next episode will be for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Go check it out. Treat yourself. Watch it with your kids. If you have kids, watch it with your kids.
For sure.
Kids love this movie. So great stuff. Shrishma Naik, thank you so much for talking about the greasy hair of Leonardo DiCaprio circa mid-90s. Carolyn Naoroz, fabulous job of the matriarchy hosting today's episode. We love to see it. And next week, we'll see what the patriarchy of the late 1980s has done for society in the United States of America with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So until next time, please never forget that this has been Old Movie Time Machine. Oh, whoops. All 90s.
Yay.
/ 1989.
It's just a small blip.
Yeah.
Small
blip. We're both thinking. Yeah.
Okay.